questions, comments, whatever's on your heart. You've received information now. You have certain experiences from the past. If you just can share, I know we're taking quite long. But let's just take a moment that we can share whatever the Lord has placed on your heart through the information you have received, through your experiences, through everything.
Okay, listening to the presentations this morning and the street shop idea and so on, and what Rolf said, what is the question? So we have to assess a person's needs, I think, or need. And then we have to have a sort of a referral network where we can send people. Some might benefit from an alpha course. What is it grounded? Others might have social problems, communication problems, relation problems. They might benefit from a social worker. Others have got health problems. They might need to see the clinic nurse or the doctor. So I agree with you, Rolf. You cannot just say Jesus is the answer. You have to assess first, I think, what is the problem, what is the underlying problem, what are the root causes, and so on. And maybe we should look at what is available in terms of referral system, referral options. Do you have a course somewhere? Where? And what time? So that you can say, then you have to go there. I mean, if you have got an addiction problem, you can go to COSEP. Yes, they are sitting in Sunnyside, that area, or that address. So I think we have to build something like a referral network. Employment is difficult, but I mean, where do you go if you want to find a job? Who helps you to draft a letter to apply, etc.? Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that comment, and thank you for that question also. That's what we're doing with the Good Samaritan course. We're explaining the whole, you see, that's why I remember the Good Samaritan must have the support of a inn, because that's what happened in the parable. And the church is an inn. So if there's not a church, then we, from CMC, we need to have that support also available. But in the Good Samaritan course, we're training the Good Samaritans on, we give them also a checklist to look at the need when they get in touch with that person, so that they will be able to address. Because sometimes older people, that some people will have good support systems or whatever. They just need one specific area. So in that checklist, they address that, they look at that, and then we also advise them to work with the church and so on, so that the resources is also available.
I just want to add to it that in the beginning we talked about a central database where we can support each other. I think it's very important on the database that we help. I've had this week, for the first time in 3 years, somebody called me and said, I will soon have jobs available, please get the people ready for me. So things are happening, but we need to get ready to get the people also ready.
Thank you. Rolf, if I may just comment and add on to what you said. We ran the shelter at Capel Park during COVID at the community center there. And after a couple of weeks working with the people, now I'm talking about people that come from the streets, that are down and out. It took a process to get them there. We're talking about little boys that were abused physically, sexually by fathers, uncles, parents, whatever. The situation was bad. And one thing I realized is that these people have got a problem of guilt and why they feel guilty, and they couldn't work through it. So we started analyzing it. And fortunately, a couple of years before that, one of our pastors came and he brought a course to the church, and it was Bruce Wilkinson's on unforgiveness. And then I realized that these people have got problems and issues because they cannot forgive. And the Bible, and when Christ said, He will send the tormentors to torment you. And if you cannot forgive, you will forever be tormented. Until you can forgive, doesn't matter how bad your circumstances and situations were in the past, if you cannot forgive, you will never get out of that gutter. You must be able to learn to forgive. When we started realizing that, and I started working with these guys, and I'm not a counselor, I'm not trained for that. But when you start applying spiritual values to it, and you start explaining to the people and going into their history and their past as to why they are where they are, and you realize that these people have got a hatred towards other people, and you start working with them, and you empathize and you sympathize with them and you work with them, and you listen to them, and you get into the innermost being and realize that their core problem is hatred and unforgiveness, and you start working with them. We had one guy who was a rebel. He was aggressive. The slightest thing triggered him off, and he started beating up people. He pulled out knives and all kinds of things. And I took him one side and I started speaking to him. And about a month later, he was a totally different person, because I got it through to him that he must forgive his uncle. And he's on a path of self-destruction. And then we got one of our pastors, Tim, to come and give the course of Bruce Wilkinson. It's eight or nine courses to these guys every Wednesday or every Monday for 8 weeks. We came and we gave that course of forgiveness to them. And they started changing. They started realizing what, and I'm not saying this is everybody's issues, but it is a big problem. It's a problem of health, our own health and things like that. Because if you can't forgive, there's a bitterness, and it eats away at your inner being, and it destroys you personally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, your health, everywhere. It destroys you. And I think this is something that we must also look at when we start looking and working with people, is to be able to forgive. Christ forgave us all without any um, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Conditions. He forgave us unconditionally. And that is something we need to do when we work with people, is to be able to help them to forgive. And then once they start realizing this, and you look at the root causes of things, you can start helping them out of the gutter and start making progress in their lives. Thank you.
Net wat ek wil sê is in die tyd waar ons werk en ook is dat jy moet soos 'n daai persoon daal na sy vlak, maar hy moenie oor jou loop nie. Dit moet soos 'n kind wees wat jy 'n stokkie lekker gaan gee en sê hier is hierdie stokkie lekker. Hier is hierdie saad. Jy moet hierdie stokkie lekker vat en net soos daar waar in die Bybel ook sê, of wat die eienaar vir hierdie ou die munte gegee het en vir hom gesê het, gaan kyk wat kan jy daarmee doen. En daar's wat van hulle dit nie gedoen het nie, net daai een ou het teruggekom en sy munte het hy reg gebruik. So moet ons hierdie saad op hierdie ou probeer saai, maar dit is ook nie maklik nie, soos JJ gesê het. Hulle loop oor jou, maar dis hoe ons hierdie ding moet benader. Dis soos ek dit dink.
Allow me for a moment just to share with you from CMC perspective and just try and put everything together in what we're trying to accomplish. If we look at the current situation, we find that churches, ministries are functioning and operating in silos. So everyone is busy doing his own thing. The one thing that I really want to emphasize is CMC does not want to take over. We want to corroborate. So what we are looking for is those who have got a heart to say, but I want to look at at the larger picture. So why must there be 500 people in this area doing the same thing, where there can be one group of people working together, pooling resources, coming together to accomplish what needs to be accomplished? We don't want to manage each ministry or church or organization in the process. But what we are looking for is, I want to call them maybe a champion, that we're looking for somebody that has that vision that has that passion to say, but I have a heart for this specific area. And I believe God is placing upon my heart the responsibility to take ownership and to take care of this aspect. And from that, we can form a group within the CMC where we can collaborate, where we can integrate, and we can together, as the body of Christ in that situation, hear what it is that God is saying, what He's speaking, and we can be much more effective in what we are doing. So I hope this brings some kind of peace and also some kind of understanding that we as CMC as an organization or as a management group cannot do this by ourselves. It's impossible for us. The workload that all of us are carrying at the moment in terms of areas of responsibility is scary. And we cannot cope with that load. So we need people to come alongside of us and say, but let me take this part of the burden and let me start running with that. So if there's a sense in your heart this morning that God is speaking to you and there's a response, there's a drawing in the spirit that you find, but this is where I want to be, because it's not just my church, my ministry. It is the body of Christ within the Moed area. And that is what we want to see. We've seen how God over the past 2-3 years have began to raise up a corporate body where people started to integrate. Just the things that Yapi shared this morning, where we've seen the youth come together. More than 600 young people across denominations, across groups. It's not a Doxodea thing. It's a body of Christ, a corporate body coming together in reaching out to our young people. So I really pray that if you feel that the Lord is speaking to you, please contact Marcel. He's the guy that's responsible for this, or you can contact me as well as you want. But let's start taking hands and rebuild our city.
What I'm saying is that we need resources. And being in this fraternal, we need to unlock the resources. And unfortunately, it means money. And I think Doulos is the best example of how to sustain a certain level of support to the community. And we need to learn from JJ. We need Rolf, his courses, but it's going to cost money. And I think each of us being here, we need to think about this, how we are going to unleash these resources, because there are many resources out there which are not utilized properly for this venture. And I think, first of all, we have to set our goals and we have to put the budget across, sort of werksplan. And I believe that JJ is the right person to give us that guidance. And then we need to go out. But then it's going to cost us. You know, we invited all the churches, to come here today because I think they needed this information. But unfortunately, they are not going to come to us. We will have to go to them.
Thank you for this opportunity. I just want to make this contribution, trying to appreciate what CMC is doing. Coming from my own background, we've had similar group. And I want to encourage that we make more effort to approach as many churches within Moed community to be part of what CMC is doing, because if we can get all the churches and ministries together under one umbrella, we shall be more effective. And even as many organizations or donors that might be approached to support, they will see a kind of spirit of oneness. And also they will see that we are operating under one umbrella and be able to effectively support. For example, yesterday at Melchizedek, there was a group that came and distribute food to the people there, which was a good thing. But you see, after their operation, they were asking if they could be given a kind of space to operate fully there. And I was talking to one of us that was attending to them. I said, that is wrong. They can either come under the umbrella of the people operating here already, instead of coming to patch their own umbrella. You see, by so doing, there will be division if we don't come together. We know that there are a lot of organizations or individuals that cook food and take it about to places where these homeless people are. But if we can get some of these people to come under one umbrella and we begin to operate uniformly, I think we will be more effective. And what JJ is saying about going beyond giving them food, to be able to give them the reason why this food is being given, that is preaching the gospel to them, discipling them, it will go a long way. So I want to encourage that we should encourage our churches, ministries, and Christian bodies to come to learn what CMC is doing, and let
Thank you. My name is Annemie Norwie. I'm a senior Mind Moves facilitator of the Mind Moves Institute in Johannesburg. And I'm also part of the South African Veteran Association with RULF. Okay, we are, I'm directing the holistic supporting department of the South African Veterans Association. Okay, and it seems like after I've heard all your suggestions, it seems like we try to empower these people. We are actually providing all the support. We give them food and clothes and all those kind of things. But it seems like we are doing all the work. And we are actually working around them and we are trying to organize a lot of things for them. But actually, we're not actually approaching them. It feels like for me, we are still missing the point. How come we do not give them the ball back into their hands? So we go to them and we said, okay, we can provide you perhaps with seeds, but if you can plant seeds and grow your own tomatoes and vegetables and whatever, and starting a soup kitchen, and before you help yourselves, try to help others around you so that they can just feel or make them feel what it feels to share something again or to give something. Because they are just receiving, they are always on the receiving end, but they are not actually giving. So how come we can't take the approach from try to give them something that they can start off with, but then they need to produce something that they can give back to somebody else. Or just give, they must try to find something that they can just give to somebody else, or whatever they receive, they must share with somebody else, so that they can just get into that habit of sharing again and not just keeping everything for themselves. So that they can perhaps just appreciate whatever we are doing for them, that they must share that feeling of just helping somebody else as well. Because
Yes, Dr. Lipton said, never do something for somebody that he can do for himself. We have to have that attitude. I agree. We need to build them up in more than one way, but we also need to get them involved in this movement. If they're not involved, then we come in certain times almost with a God complex. We know the answers, but we don't know them. So as soon as we get them also involved, but we need to organize ourselves to get them involved. And that's the beginning part where we are now. To say, let us organize ourselves in order to get them involved as well, because I cannot go into their territory telling them what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and then leave. They need to be part of it. And they need to sit around the table with us and tell us, you want to do that, but it's not going to work because ABC. So, yeah, I believe we need to do that. We need to get them involved. To answer your question, we need to get more people involved. I'm at a point where I think we need to work almost like Moses, where God said, what do you have? And he said, I've got the staff. And he said, use it. What do we have at CMC? We've got these people. Let's use that. I believe that people, as soon as they see something is happening, they will come in aboard. I think a lot of churches and places are so devastated because everybody comes with a good plan. And then it fails, and then the poor church need to sort it out. They need to pick up their own congregation and lift them up and whatever, because everybody's got a good idea. I mean, I've seen it in Doulos, my father, through many years. People will come with the best ideas, and in the end, my father had to sit and sort it out because they just disappeared. When the going gets tough, they disappeared. So we need to work with what we have and then work from there to build it.
Thank you. I've been working quite a while with JJ and Rolf and some of the other guys, Mike and so on. And I can give my commitment. I cannot start a shelter with. I'm not going to grow vegetables and involve. I'm not going to do counseling. But if you guys give me a business plan, I'm willing to go to Capital Park, to the churches there, ask them for support, financial support as well as human resources, because this is what we really need, is that if we've got a plan where we incorporate everything what you've said, we've already thought a lot about that. So we've got a lot of information. We can come up with a business plan, and we can come up with a strategy how to go about and involve. But my experience is, it's not going to work to invite the churches to come to us. It's not going to work to invite the businesses to come to us. It's not going to work to ask for donations. Coming into us, we have to go and look. And that's going to take some work. That's the kind of thing that I can do. I can do that.
We've got a lot of good input, a lot of good ideas this morning, but somehow we must bring it together. And I agree with what Johanna is saying in terms of a business plan. So I want to ask the following. All of you that are sitting here today have got some thoughts. You've got some ideas. We don't have the capacity and the time to work through all of this. So I'm going to ask you that you will create or place your thoughts into a document and submit it to us so that we can take all of that, integrate it, and from that, I believe the Lord will begin to give us a picture, a plan, the business plan of moving it. Johan, thank you for volunteering to go around, because that's one of the gaps that we have. In short also, we've been battling for the last 2-3 years to obtain a property that can function as a permanent community center where all these projects and things can operate from. We almost had one, but then it was sold just before we were able to negotiate for it. That would have been the perfect property for us. So in the background, we are working on all of these things. We and our greatest challenge again is, just like you said, is that lack of people really getting down and dirty, in getting their hands dirty, in engaging that person where the need is, beginning to sense and experience what that person is experiencing. And that's the challenge that we have, because the tendency that there is if we make known a need, say for instance, we say we need a lot of food for the homeless. People will come, they will dump the potatoes and the onions and the cabbages and everything that goes with it. And then they stand back, because now there's a sense, I've done my job. But they don't go the next step and come alongside of that person and begin to journey with that person. So all of this, we are part in the process of going through this growing process. And what we are seeing happening here today is just another step in terms of bringing all of this together so that we can become effective in the Moord area in terms of putting these things in place.
Yeah, thank you so much for your contributions. If you've got a feeling that we're going to end without taking a decision, I think that's the way it should be. Because this is just, as Armana says, this is just a start of something bigger. What I said in that, there was a call and you guys answered. I think that's how the Lord works. So now He's brought us together, people. He's creating he started something, and which will be built in phases. Thank you so much, everybody. Keep well, be blessed, and feel blessed. Bye-bye.